Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of what's the show called again?
Wired for hybrid.
Fire Hybrid. It's
We got to
been
do a
so
blooper.
long.
We got to do a
It,
blooper
it,
reel.
yeah, it's been so long. It's been like what, 2 months now?
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah,
Um, End of fiscal. You
summer
had some health things and
vacations and
vacation time and so on. So
yep.
we're really sad to that we had to wait so long, but we're back. So, because we're back, we've got some stuff to talk about, and we'll cover that right after this. Hey, Michael. So,
Hey,
what have you
Pierre.
been up to?
You know, it's been a busy summer. So, you know how it is. Summer at Microsoft, you know, parents that have kids, your people are taking vacation. At the end of June, we have the fiscal year. Um, just a ton of stuff going on. I've had some vacations. I know you've had some vacations.
Yep.
You know, just tons of stuff going on and, really getting ramped up for the end of our engineering semester and then rolling up into Ignite. So it should be a fun fall going into Ignite. But what are you up to?
Well, you just mentioned one, Ignite. So, I'm working on the team that is um, not building the content, but we're kind of trying to figure out how we're going to manage the breakout rooms. We don't have any details yet. Stay tuned on what Ignite's going to look like this year. Um, I'm also building some content for the upcoming AI tour
That sounds
because
fun.
AI is now coming into everything.
It is everywhere.
And speaking of that, okay, I'm not sure uh, if I'm going to lose my job on this, but anyway, I've been working with the networking team in engineering and kind of looking at Microsoft Copilot in Azure, which is currently in preview. So you may have access to it, though it may have been rolled out to your organization by now or not. But it's in preview and it's really, really cool. But networking team is putting together a plugin or handler or a skill to do network troubleshooting within Microsoft Copilot in Azure for all of your virtual networking.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
I'm telling you, it's going to be awesome.
That is good stuff. That
So
is
when
good stuff.
something like, you have NSGs that overlap and NSGs and APGs, and you got routes and firewalls and peering and all of that that can affect whether or not a packet gets routed to the right place. If it doesn't, you just say, hey, why can't I connect from here to here? And it goes and analyzes all of that and comes back with a step by step on how to potentially resolve it. Anyway, it's in private preview right now, so I can't say too much about it, but it is looking awesome.
Oh, that's cool. I can't wait to check that out. And I think anybody listening to this is, chances are, you know, whether you're on-prem, whether you're hybrid, whether you're wherever networking and troubleshooting networking has always been the bane of any IT pro's existence. So
Well,
anything that
on prem, it used to be like you could do a trace route and you could configure based on your level of access that
yeah,
the switch would reply back to you.
yeah,
But in Azure, you do a trace route and you just basically, it doesn't give you any information. It just goes, you see that it's got hops, but it doesn't return any information.
yeah,
And then you get to the end and it says failed.
yeah, yeah.
And you
So this
go,
will
where?
yeah. So this will definitely be something we'll be keeping our eyes on and exciting stuff there.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. But let's get back to stuff that is not in private preview. And what do you have for us this month?
So it has been a long time, and this actually came out in the middle of June, but the update came out in July. And finally, in Azure Virtual Network Manager,
Yep.
mesh topologies and then direct connectivity are generally available. So, along with the hub and spoke topologies, which were announced when it went GA last year,
Yep.
and the security admin rules, which went GA earlier this year, now basically the suite is kind of filled out at the top level. You got connectivity configuration, you got security admin configuration. So those pieces are really generally available for everybody to work in, which is great. So, you know, what that allows you to do is, with mesh, that just lets everything talk together, typical mesh topology.
So direct connectivity is basically a euphemism for a full mesh.
Yes. So
Okay.
mesh topology is mesh, is that everything connects to everything. Direct connectivity you apply to your hub and spoke topologies. So what this does is, like, let's say you want your spokes to all talk together.
Yeah.
You apply direct connectivity to it. So now they can all talk together in the spoke. This is great for those, let's say you have needing low latency between those different networks. So you don't have to go through the hub every time they're wanting to talk. So you're basically creating a mesh topology in those spokes that are part of that hub. So
So without you having to manage each of those peering
absolutely.
relationships.
So you don't have to do peering, you don't have to do all of that stuff. It's all done for you, which is super cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
And just a couple other things. So Azure Virtual Network Manager, we've been talking about this since the beginning of our show. And as a doc writer, I work intimately with the team on the things that are coming on. And we do have a couple things that are on the horizon that I think are super important for people to know about. So the first one, and I believe Pierre, you mentioned this last year after we talked about Ignite, which was
IPAM.
IPAM.
Yep.
IP address management. So currently in private preview, so there are customers using it in private preview. We're looking in the near future. This is going to roll out the public preview. This is going to allow you to basically use the IPAM concept of centrally managing and automatically allocating address spaces for your virtual networks. So this is going to basically allow you to go in, you create an address pool, and you add the virtual networks to it, blah, blah, blah. TLDR, when you go to create a virtual network, instead of having to fill out, I want it in this address space and I want this range, you'll basically click something and you'll still define the range. So you'll choose what pool you want pulled from. You'll
Yep.
define the range because you want to define how big your virtual network is.
Yes.
Then it will go through the process of automatically allocating that. So then when it's created, it'll be there for a certain period of time. If you don't end up using it, then it would get recycled. But it's going to go and basically allows you to make sure that you don't have overlapping address ranges with your CIDR ranges.
Yes, that's a problem. And right now, by building some demos, I've got environments where I have multiple virtual networks. And I've gotten to that where at some point I kind of lost track and I gave the same range in two different virtual networks, which was worked fine until I tried to connect them together.
Yep. Yeah, and especially every time you go in, it gives you a 10.0.0.0/16. If you're just clicking right through there real fast, that's going to happen, especially when you're doing a lot of demo networks. So,
Especially, and I'm thinking in decentralized kind of environments where you may not be the one person that's creating all these VNets, different groups, different workload kind of teams that may manage their own environment, dev versus prod versus test. That could become a real mess real quick.
Yep. And this is just adding into those features of, you know, Virtual Network Manager really being your central management source, allowing you to automate a lot of the work and making it easier. So one last thing I wanted to mention, it is in public preview, but I think this is something you and I were just talking about this. This is that a lot of people find super important is that in public preview we have user defined route management or UDRs. And so what this allows you to do is typically what would you do when you have to connect a virtual network through a hub virtual network that's got an Azure firewall? You have to go in and create custom routes. What if you
Yep,
have 100 virtual networks? That's a lot of custom routes. So UDR management in Virtual Network Manager allows you to centralize that. So it allows you to create those and basically go, hey, I've got a hub, it's got an Azure firewall. Any traffic going to the internet goes through the firewall, but any other traffic gets managed however else you need to manage it. Maybe
yep.
you need to go from one virtual network to another, whatever it is. So
Very
that
important
creates the,
too if you've got on-prem networks, multiple site-to-site VPN or express routes to multiple on-prem sites. These all have to be routed properly.
yep, absolutely. So this is going to help for those admins and administrators and engineers looking to like, okay, get their hands around this. And the nice thing about it too is when one of the things we've talked about virtual network manager being cool is when you add a new VNet into a network group, the policies then get applied down to it.
Yeah,
Same for UDR. So when you add in a new virtual network into a network group that's impacted by UDR, it gets all those routes. So you don't have to worry about making sure your new virtual network gets the routes that it needs in order to communicate. Those will get pushed back as part of the membership and deployment process.
that's very cool. That to me, that's going to alleviate some definite headaches that I'm actually experiencing right now. And if I'm experiencing them, I'm sure that some of our customers and our audience out there, and you let us know whether in the comments below, whether or not this is something that you're experiencing right now, dealing with, or if there's any other things that you're dealing with on a regular basis that we could possibly address to.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
we'll have some great resources on Virtual Network Manager, both the mesh and direct connectivity, along with UDR management. And stay tuned in the future for IPAM. But I think we have a couple more generally available. Even though it's been kind of slow with releases, I believe we do have a couple more things, right, Pierre?
yeah. Well, it has been slow for a couple things. We have kind of slowed down release to production for an added security review of everything. So that kind of slowed down the last couple months, which is a good thing.
Yep.
But we still have some stuff. So one of the things that is, well, it's ExpressRoute. Both of the next items are ExpressRoute, but there's two different things with ExpressRoute. Number one is FastPath. So FastPath support for VNet peering and UDR, believe it or not, is generally available. So it boosts your data performance between your on-prem environment and your virtual network by enabling different designs over ExpressRoute. So when it's enabled, it allows your performance to be increased by sending network traffic directly to the virtual machines within those VNets from express routes, reducing potential bottleneck. It still requires gateways and exchange routes between virtual networks and on premises, but does it in such a way that the throughput end to end is much better. So that's really cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
I, I'm hoping that at some point there's something similar with site to site, not just express route, but
Yeah.
I get it that express route are, if you've got something that needs that level of speed, ExpressRoute is the way to go versus like a site-to-site VPN.
For sure.
And the last one is the ExpressRoute traffic collector support for provider circuits. What that means is that 1 gig and plus provider circuits, that service will now be allowed to or will fully be managed traffic to monitoring solutions. So it will log IPFIX flow records so that you get a better visibility into how your traffic is behaving, not just on your VNet and not just in your on-prem environment, but within your ExpressRoute circuit as well. So IPFIX is a standard for exporting IP flow from devices like routers and systems for measurements, billing managements, and all that stuff. So we're just enabling more of the monitoring capabilities within the ExpressRoute circuit.
Oh, very cool. That's good
Yeah.
stuff. You
So if
seem
you
to
end
be
up
the
with like an application that's getting slow, uh, is it my network? Is it the my on-prem network, or is it something in between? Now you've got ammunition to actually hunt down where the real problem or the real bottleneck is.
very cool. It's great to see more and more, and we've talked about this in numerous shows. We continue to see more and more growth on the monitoring part of Azure because I think for a lot of people, because of the obfuscation of the hardware levels and being software defined, that
Yeah.
it has changed from being how it was on prem, that there was less to be able to see. So we're bringing a lot more things forward for customers to be able to manage their network traffic because, you know, without a robust and well architected virtual network, you're going to have problems in the cloud.
Well, it's not that you're going to have problems per se. Is if you do have problems, if you obfuscate that part of the equation, then you have no visibility into what you did wrong or where your misconfiguration may be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'm really looking forward to playing with all of these things.
Very
If I could
cool.
just if I could afford an express route circuit to my house, I would. But
Yeah, maybe in fiscal year 26 we can
no,
we can, you know,
no. I think
see
I'll stick with my Ubiquity and site to site VPN to my Azure demo environment.
very cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Hey, that's a bunch of great stuff. And you know, I think we're now that the summer is starting to wrap up, I expect us to have, a great show coming up in September and October, especially rolling into Ignite. So
Yep.
appreciate all of you that, you know, give us your time to watch what we're doing, and make sure to subscribe, like, and provide us comments as far as what you'd like to hear about, because we do want to bring back more of the deep dives. So down in the comments, we'd love
Yep.
to. We're planning on trying to do a another deep dive on Azure Virtual Network Manager, and there's plenty of other services out there that I'm sure we could bring into the fold. So let us know the things that are top of mind for you, and we will do our best to try to bring those to you in future episodes.
Absolutely. Hey, Michael. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and we'll see
Absolutely,
you at
Pierre.
home
I think it
next
froze,
month,
but
hopefully.
hope you have a great
Cheers.
weekend. Thanks, everybody.